Love, it has been good to me this time around. Things were they were bound to change when it was found. Sugar never tasted sweeter on my lips. My heart is now intact and I can find and welcome to yet another episode of the Xrad Show, the talk show that gets you talking on the Xandermonium Radio Network, live from New York City. I'm Xander Gibb.
And I'm Margret Echverria.
Oh, yes, sir. On today's show, we have the entertainment roundup, but no Jason Prince because he's not well tonight. But we'll still be having that roundup anyway, and the hottest of topics. You can tweet us. The tweet deeds are on the Xrad Facebook show page for today, or you can comment in the feed that is around the live feed. Welcome back to the show, Margaret. How is the world with you?
Very good, thanks. The weather is gorgeous, although the allergens are out in force.
You're telling me.
But the weather is beautiful. I'm so pleased about that.
Absolutely. I took, before last night's show, I took antihistamines. By the end of the show, my eyes were like dripping. And it's very humid tonight. So it was raining. But that kind of feels like it increases the allergens somewhat. Yes,
definitely. If you're allergic to mold spores, the humidity increases the mold spores, and then when the wind starts blowing, as it did this afternoon, then the mold spores start blowing around, and oh my God, all is lost.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, and I think if you're very lucky if you don't suffer with allergies, because when you do, it's a huge problem. In the summer. And I don't think antihistamines always kind of cut it, do they, unfortunately?
Well, it depends. I mean, some antihistamines are just not worth it. Some of them make you so sleepy. I rely on Claritin myself, and then I also like to use a Mucinex, mucus thinner kind of thing. Because,
yeah.
When everything builds up, I need things thinned out. Otherwise, I'm just like, talking like this is not good.
Yes, it's not very good to be broadcasting and sounding like this. Yeah, I have to have a multi-pronged attack. I have to take antihistamines, and I have to blow shit up my nose, and because otherwise, it's not just that, but they were treating me for asthma for many years. And then one of the jobs I was doing, I got health insurance, and I went to see their people, and they were like, "You don't have asthma. You actually have allergies, and they shouldn't be treating you with a what's it called, steroidal treatment for what you've got, because you should be taking antihistamines." Because my breathing is affected by it too. So when we changed the regimen and went over to using antihistamines rather than steroidal treatment for asthma, it got a lot better.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I actually did the shots. I did the shots for 5 years, and I actually got a lot better after I did the shots. I didn't have nearly as many sinus problems.
Yeah, they offered me that. I really should give it a try, but I don't have insurance right now. But the other thing is that some people have the ideology that if you get shots, you don't have the same level of immunity to other things, because your immune system needs a little bit of whatever it is to kind of give you the immunity. But I don't know if it works the same with allergy shots, as it were.
No, well, I had you really have to commit to it, is the thing.
Right.
The shots, you really have to commit to like 3 3 to 5 years. And that is a pain in the tuchus because you're going like twice a week.
Yeah.
And getting shot up with this stuff. But I'll tell you what, I'm glad I did it.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, knock wood. I'm okay with it right now, but sometimes as the summer goes on, it gets worse because it affects my sinuses really badly as well, and I end up with headaches and stuff because of it. So
well, that can stop me in my tracks. Sinus headache, like it's over. That's it.
Exactly. I'm sure a lot of you out there can really associate with what we're talking about. If you just joined us, you are listening to the Xrad show with myself and the fabulous Margret Echverria. Let's say a quick hi and hello to some of the people in the live feed. Good evening, Leonard from the UK, using foul language in my feed. Naughty boy, you're going to get spanked when I see you. Hi to Connie. Hi to Gina. Hi to Tommy. Welcome to the show, buddy. Hope you're doing good. Hope the feed is working out for you. Hello to Flower. Welcome, my dear. It's great to see you. Hey to CV. Hi to Melody. Welcome. Hello to Dave, to all of our early birds. I hope I'm seeing everybody, because sometimes I have to refresh the feed to see exactly who is in there. So welcome everybody to the show. Now I like to be a little less political on our Tuesday nights, but I really wanted to ask you about what you thought of the budget, because on first glance I was kind of a little bit concerned about it, and then on second glance I was like, maybe it's not so bad. But what do you make of it, Margaret? Have you seen much about it?
I haven't seen much about the budget. I saw the tax plan, and I thought it was just kind of half-baked. But right. I haven't seen the budget. What is the news on the budget?
Well, I don't have like a full report for you or specifics because I've not really gone into it so much. But it's funny how the media has played it as being bad, and then today I saw some excerpts from it that it looked very good. But it's kind of, for me, there are so many people with regards to the budget that only kind of want what benefits them, and that's a concern, because I'm sure there's an element of that for all of us, but we should really be considering about what is best for the country. But and some people
is always how it is. It doesn't matter who's in office. It always seems like there's always senators and congressmen who are pulling for their district for
right.
Something very specific to them.
Right.
And it just seems like that leaves the general public out in the cold. And I really think that the harder push should be to benefit the most people.
I would totally agree. That's a very nonpartisan attitude to have, and I totally agree with that. Because it's funny. Someone was saying to me before the show how basically they were saying they'd lost a friend over the elections, and there's so much of this kind of going on, and it made me really think about in my own life how many people are not able to be either kind of like agree to disagree or accept someone else's politics, and I think that as a concern, because I think that after an election cycle we're always kind of left with this, both sides kind of push for this kind of hate the other side kind of thing, and that always unsettles me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
me too. And I always get particularly unsettled by cuts to education. I just think that we should go back to funding education the way we did in the 70s, because that was when I was in school, and it was glorious. I mean, we had all the books we needed, we had all the teachers we needed, we had, the funds we needed to get a good education, and I feel like that has really fallen off quite a bit, and I'd like to see more federal funding for education.
I absolutely would agree with you, because I think it's a cliche, but the children really are our future, and what we're doing with this generation really kind of has a knock-on effect for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I find that kids don't really know how to read anymore, and they're not teaching anybody how to type.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I'm even more alarmed when I hear about adults who live in the United States that can't write. There is more adult literacy issues in the United States than any country, and I know we're quite a big country. But you would think state by state per capita, we would have far less adults with literacy problems.
Yeah, you would think that would be something that you would never see. I mean, come on.
Absolutely.
It's not that difficult to teach kids to read.
No, exactly. And, when I lived in London, one of the things, I used to teach English as a foreign language to students. But as a byproduct of that, I used to get asked to go into schools to do story hour, like schools that relatives and friends had children at, because I used to do the voices and stuff like that, and they loved it. And there's a real pleasure, there's a distinct pleasure in educating children, because you can make it fun. So they always wanted Mr. Xander to read the story, because I did the stories and the accents and the voices and stuff like that too. But
right, and that brings so much to the game. It really does. And I think that taking drama out of the schools, taking music out of the schools, having the kids only go to gym class 2, maybe 3 days a week, I think that's ridiculous. I think
right.
You should be in gym class 5 days a week. And I think you should learn music, and I think you should learn drama. And I think, kids are dying to act out the parts that they're reading about.
Exactly.
See the characters that they're reading about. I think there should be more of that.
Exactly. Oh gosh, I don't know. You're an actor too. I don't know if you ever feel like this, but I've just subscribed to Netflix, and not for Chelsea Handler before you ask. But I've been watching things like Grace and Frankie and Wentworth Prison, which is set on an old '80s show called Caged Women, I think it was called, or Prisoners of Cell Block H. And I want to be in Grace and Frankie. I don't know about you. When I see stuff and I really kind of like it, and I get a feel for it, I want a bit part. I want to be a character or a permanent role. So if there is anybody who casts for either Grace and Frankie or Prisoners or Wentworth Prison, give me a shout. I can shave off the beard for Wentworth Prison. I could be a Turkish lady. I can do Turkish.
Is brilliant.
Oh, Grace and Frankie is the best, which is a great lead-in because in honor of Jason, who's not well tonight, we're sending our best to him. We're still going to do the entertainment news segment for you. And just before I do, can I ask, can you please click your share button on the live feed? We need 10 shares of the show, please. So press your share buttons now. Was that showbiz enough, do you think, Margaret?
That was very showbiz. Very, very.
Absolutely. I'm looking for the shares, but not one share yet. We need at least 5 shares to carry on. 5 shares. 5, 4, 3, 2, none. Nobody's listening. Press your share buttons now. Oh, we got a share. Thank you, CV. That's one. Who else is going to share so we can move on with the show? Hey, you would think it's taxable or it costs you money to click that share button, wouldn't you, Margaret? Hey.
You would think.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into the first topic. If I can get this, it's always the same, and I want the teleprompter to be exactly where it's supposed to be. I've ad-libbed so much that I have to fast forward and kind of talk through to get to it. So a fired security guard at Kris Jenner's home has been arrested for felony stalking. Is he crazy? And it's the 3rd time he's broken into the gated community to get at Kris. Joshua Jacobs broke the arm of the security gate in the Hidden Hills gated community where Kris lives. He made it to the front of her house when Kris's private security detail pounced on the guy and held him in and until the cops arrived. They believe he stole the sign-in sheet, and we're told it's likely he'll also be charged with theft for stealing the sign-in sheet. There you go. As for why Jacobs was so determined to get to Kris, it's unclear. But clearly, very scary. So, it's interesting, Margaret, even at my meager Z level of celebrity, I have had a stalker, and it's kind of scary. And even just some of the trolls that come and message me and say stuff, there is an element of fear with that. And when I first started doing the show, like 5 years ago, I got a death threat, and that was like really, really scary. But what do you make of this? All the stalker business that's going on?
Well, I just, I can't help but think about Mary Stewart. Remember the survivor who was stalked and then nearly murdered by the former security guard in her complex? And the reason that she moved into that complex was because it was supposed to be so safe, and they had the best security guards from what is that security company that's supposed to be like the top of the top?
Brinks? I don't know.
But anyway, this security guard completely, broke into her apartment and nearly murdered her. And it's very frightening because security guards know a lot about how to circumvent the security that exists in your house or in your living complex. And it scares me to death. I don't know how Kris is sleeping at night. I wouldn't.
No, absolutely not. And this guy worked doing security at the complex where she lives as a gated community. I think it's it's kind of concerning because we don't want people knowing where we live. I know people know that I live in New York City, but I wouldn't want them to know where. Because there are more psychos in this country per capita than anywhere else. I don't know if you're watching the live feed, but people are saying hi to you, Margaret. In the live feed. Dave says hi. Hi to Sadie. Welcome to the show. Hi, Dave. Hey to Joan. It's kind of, it is a worry that this kind of thing goes on. But I think one has to protect oneself when one is in the public eye, and I don't ingratiate myself thinking that I'm a big star, but as I said, even at my minuscule level of celebrity, I've had things that have been concerning. And I actually contacted the police when I got this death threat, and they said, the thing is that if people are going to do this, they're going to just do it. They're not going to threaten you. Anyone that ever threatens you is doing it to scare you. But it is alarming, when that kind of thing happens.
Well, sometimes they're threatening you because they want a piece of you. It's horrifying.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
Stalking is just it's just the worst. It's just the absolute worst. You have to be pretty deranged to have that much attention on another person who doesn't
You
give
do.
attention.
You absolutely do. I think it's totally concerning. And if you do want a piece of me, come for it, because there's a lot to go around. But seriously, no, stay away, because I have pepper spray, and soon I will have my gun license. So be very careful. A lot of people are kind of anti-gun in this country, but I think, as the years roll by, I think that personal security is a real concern. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, it absolutely is. And the other thing is, you can't live in fear.
No.
They say that if a serial killer wants you, he will get you.
Right.
And there's nothing you can do. But I think that you can survive. And I think you have to be vigilant and watch out for yourself and watch out for others. But it's impossible to not come into contact with these deranged people. I mean, eventually at some point in your life, you will come into contact with somebody who's deranged, who means to do you harm.
Exactly.
And I guess, you have to know what to do in that situation.
You do.
I mean, this is why we have martial arts. This is why we have self-defense classes. And, it's a situation that's unavoidable, but it should be a situation that can be survived.
Absolutely. And be careful, folks out there, because I do have a black belt in origami. But Margaret, that there are often, guys kind of like beating down my door often. And eventually I get up and let them out,
Oh, that's terrible.
It is,
It's the worst.
it certainly is a worry. So yesterday, Kelly Ripa from Live with Kelly, the show's called just Live now because there have been so many co-hosts, revealed that former American Idol host Ryan Seacrest would be her permanent co-host on her talk show Today. Oh, it's called Today now, not Live. Oh, Today, the next chapter of Live. The story is about to begin. Ripa exclaimed ahead of announcing her co-host. Today is a very good day. Seacrest will continue to host his nationally syndicated radio shows and recently renewed his contract to host the Red Carpet special for NBC, and he will still be continuing to sell Amway, so don't worry, people. The 42-year-old TV personality also hosts ABC's Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve special every year. Now, I'm kind of disappointed that she chose Seacrest because, there is another local handsome gentleman in New York City that is a very good presenter and could have, done the job. Not pointing anybody in particular. But seriously, what do you make of this appointment, Margaret?
Well, goodness gracious. I mean, there's enough work to go around if one person isn't monopolizing all the hosting
Right,
work.
exactly.
I mean, come on. Aren't we a little Ryan Seacrested out?
Thank you for saying that, because absolutely we are. And one of the things I've said for the last 20 years is that it's imperative to give new people a go, because when they don't, it's the same old all the time. And for me, that's concerning. I don't want to see the same people on TV all the time. I saw the other day someone I used to work with in the UK called Kat Deely. She's a British TV presenter. They've just given her a show, and I thought, oh, good, because it's someone new. But then I thought, aren't there enough American TV presenters to choose from without having to, bring one of the Brits over with their fish and chips? It's that concerns me too.
Right, and remember how exciting it was when Kelly Ripa came out of nowhere? That
Yes.
was so exciting. I mean, this was an opportunity to give someone a chance.
It was. I mean,
and it was not. I just don't think it was actually executed properly. I mean, listen, nothing against Ryan Seacrest, God bless.
Yeah, of course.
I don't dislike him, but he has enough work. They should have given it to an unknown. That would have been much more exciting.
I mean, it's interesting that with my TV show, I'm always willing to, like, a lot of the bands that we share on Hit of the Week are unsigned bands that I really think are absolutely freaking brilliant. Because for me, why do I need to put bands on that have been signed? Why do I need to have really well-known people on the radio and TV show all the time? Because how do people get a footing in this industry without being given a break? I mean, no one comes and knocks on your door and says, hey, let's give you a TV show or a radio show. So I think it's absolutely imperative that new people are given a chance.
I think so too, and I think there's a horrible trend in the last 15, 20 years where producers are not willing to take a risk. They want a known person in every project they do.
Right.
They want a name person in every project they do so that they're guaranteed a return on their money. And I'm telling you, this is going to send the quality of our entertainment down the tubes again. And I just think, and it already has. I mean,
yeah, because it's
there
either...
are a lot of talented actors out there who are busting their tookuses, who are bringing new and fresh technique to the industry, and we're not getting to see any of that. Even independent film has become all about names and known people, and I think that's ridiculous.
Well, even TV shows like Law and Order have started using big names that are not getting a lot of work, which is a concern, because the whole idea of shows like that is that they would use people that maybe you might have seen in one or two other things, but it, gives them a break and sends them on to something else. But if you can't do that, what's the point,
Right, exactly. I mean, would Melissa McCarthy be where she was if she wasn't on the Gilmore Girls?
No.
Come on.
Exactly.
Now, if she wasn't on the Gilmore Girls back then, when nobody knew who she was. I just think that...
Go ahead, sorry.
This has got to stop. This is a trend that's got to stop, because what are we going to do when all the names die?
Yes, exactly. Because Don Rickles died recently, and Don Rickles was, it's funny when I was coming up and doing the comedy clubs, 20 years ago, people used to call me Rotten Rickles, which it was a compliment because a lot of my humor was a little bit, cruel and bitchy. I've refined it a little bit more nowadays. But you can't rely on Joan Rivers and Don Rickles are dead, unfortunately. So we need to have fresh blood, if I'm allowed to say that, in
Yes,
2017.
We do, and there's not enough of it.
There isn't. Absolutely. So I do kind of think it's time to get some fresh faces on television and getting some new names out there. So I don't know if you're a fan of Tom Jones, but basically he's selling his Beverly Hills mansion that he's owned for over 20 years for $8 million. Now, the property is located in the guard-gated Mulholland Estates in Beverly Hills, California. The 8,146 square foot Mediterranean villa has 5 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms, and the home was purchased by the crooner in 1998. Now, Jones listed the house for sale nearly a year ago after the death of his wife, Lady Linda Woodward, to whom he had been married for 60 years. Known for his hits What's New Pussycat, and we'll talk about that title in just one moment. Jones's love for all things feline is evident in the decor. Leopard print designs are ongoing theme throughout the house, and the extravagant estate and tribal and safari-inspired motifs are also very ubiquitous. The home even includes an elevator that services all the floors of the residence. Leopard print, Margaret, and how did Tom Jones get away with the song What's New Pussycat in the United States? Because when I went to live in England, I was surprised that people referred to their cats in that way.
Oh, Pussycat? Oh, yes. We had a cat when we were living in Lancashire, and her name was Pussy.
Right.
And so we would call her in at night, and, we'd say, Pussy.
Yes. Yeah.
But, I love leopard print. My aunt, who I live with, has lots and lots and lots of leopard print, and she has influenced my daughter to enjoy leopard print as well. So we have leopard print pillows, we have leopard print pants, we have leopard print blankets. We have a lot of that. But unfortunately, my aunt is also highly allergic to cats, so we don't have an actual cat. We're dog people.
Right. Absolutely.
But, I like good leopard print if it's well done. I used to have a leopard print dress that was just
Me too.
Fantastic.
I wish I still had it, actually. Because for those of you who are kind of not aware, 25 years ago when I was starting out as a singer, I went to a couple of gigs and they needed to compare, and the only way you could do a compare gig, which meant you got 50 pounds more than the singers, was to put on a dress. And my favorite dress to wear was a leopard print dress. I just can't walk in flats nowadays, though, Margaret. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Listen, was this his primary residence, or was this his?
Oh, I think it's
LA?
just one of his residences. I know he's got a home in London and a home in several other places too. I think he's got three or four places. I'm not sure I would pay, even if I had that kind of money, I'm not sure I would pay $8 million for a house, but it's kind of great bragging rights. A friend of mine, when I lived in London, who was someone really well known, bought Marty Feldman's old house, and it was kind of eerie. It felt like it was haunted. So there is an element of kudos with being able to say, oh, this house used to belong to so and so, so and so. But yeah, I don't think I would spend $8 million on a house. Do you?
Oh no. Well, actually, $8 million is kind of cheap for that neighborhood, but. No, I don't think I would spend $8 million on a house. It's hard enough for me to think about coughing up $1 million for a house.
Exactly, and you can't get much change from that, even with an apartment, in New York, in the city. It's gotten very, very difficult. I want to just jump to this last story now as part of the entertainment segment. This was really good news for me. TV actress Shannon Doherty from 90210 and several other famous shows, is thankfully in remission from cancer. The 46-year-old actress took to Instagram to reveal the happy news recently, though she shared the next 5 years is crucial in her recovery from breast cancer. She said, "Moments, they happen. Today was and is a moment." Doherty wrote, "What does remission mean? I heard that word and I have no idea how to react. Good news, yes. Overwhelming, yes. Now more are waiting. Now more waiting." As every single one of my fellow cancer family knows, the next 5 years is crucial. Reoccurrences happen all the time, and many of you have shared that you're the very story with me, she continued. So with a heart that is certainly lighter, I wait. In the meantime, decisions, reconstruction, which is several surgeries, decisions on taking a pill for the next 5 years, that comes with its own set of problems and side effects. I am blessed, I know that, but for now, remission. Shannon Doherty concluded, "I'm going to just breathe," with the hashtag Cancer Slayer. And that really made me a little emotional, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, God bless her. It's a harrowing disease, and so many of my classmates from high school have suffered with it, and you know, it's you never know. I mean, some people get it and they survive it. They survive it well,
right,
and they live many years afterwards. And some people get it and they don't survive it. And you can't tell from the outset how it's going to go. It's a very scary, unpredictable disease, and those 5 years must be just.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get through them. You know, you're just waiting to see.
I don't know how
There's going to be one who's going to make it.
I don't know how she got through the chemo, and you know, I follow her on Instagram and message her often, and I'm glad she actually did what she did in the public eye, because I think that when you see someone famous going through that kind of thing, it actually gives hope to people out there who are not so famous, that are suffering with the same thing. So good on you, Shannon. I'm glad that you're in remission, and from everyone here at the Xrad show, we got your back.
Yeah, right on.
So let's get a little political. Tomi Lahren, the conservative commentator who says she was fired for expressing her pro-choice views, has reached a settlement with Glenn Beck and The Blaze. Lahren sued her former employer last month, alleging that her show was cancelled and she was blocked from accessing her social media accounts after she voiced her pro-choice position on The View. Beck and The Blaze filed a counterclaim alleging that Lahren was suspended, though not fired, for a host of unprofessional behavior, including mistreating the crew and refusing to work with one of the company's makeup artists. Now, the claim also called Lahren, 24, one of the most divisive people in the media. Lahren was overheard saying that she would sue The Blaze and that she could own The Blaze when it's all done. Now, the counterclaim alleges, now Laren's contract was set to expire in September, and management had decided not to renew it, according to the counterclaim. Now, it also says that it denies that Lahren was blocked from accessing her social media accounts. Under the settlement first reported by the Dallas Morning News, Lahren will be freed from her contract and will have control over her Facebook page. She will also have to remove videos and other intellectual property that belongs to The Blaze, according to her attorney, Brian Loughton. The other terms of the agreement remained confidential, so we won't get to find out how much bang she got for her buck. Miss Lahren is relieved to have this litigation behind her, and she looks forward to connecting with her audience and fan base on the pressing political issues facing our country in the days to come. Now, what do you make of this? I don't know how much you know about this story, but, you know, she appeared on The View, and she's very conservative, but she stated on The View that she was pro-choice. And her employers at The Blaze were a little pissed at that, to say the least. Now, I consider myself to be a Republican and a conservative, but I certainly don't want to put people in a box and make them think in any one particular way, or get them to subscribe to a tick list to say that they're this or that. And so this kind of concerns me a little. Well, I think that under conservative values, most conservatives are pro-life. I'm sure there are some pro-choice, but conservative commentators, there are very few conservative commentators working in the United States that are kind of willing to be to have their own opinions, as it were.
Yeah, I feel like that she got it wrong. I feel like it had nothing to do with whether or not she was pro-choice or pro-life.
Right.
I mean, it sounds like she was difficult to work with.
Right.
And was costing money. You know, if
Yeah.
you don't want to work with the makeup artist who's been assigned to your show, then you're going to cost the show more money, right? So
Right.
it sounds like the producers were sick of her being a diva.
Right.
I don't think it has. It just seems. I smell a fish. I smell a big fish.
So you think that this was maybe
anything to do with her political viewpoint?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I've we've probably both seen this a lot where people kind of get a little bit too big for their boots, and that's a concern. I think that the bigger you get, celebrity wise, the more humble you should become. I know lots of famous people, and when I'm in their company, they're just that person. They're not, oh, blah blah blah, big celebrity. They're just my friend. Whatever their name might be. But I think we both have known people that let it go to their head. I learned a very important lesson, many years ago. And it was actually a TV presenter in the UK called Paul O'Grady that told me this. And he said, he's from Liverpool. He was like, Xander, you got to look after people on the way up because you're going to need them on the way down. And I never forgot that,
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. Also, I think, I think any reasonable person can see that abortion is not a black and white issue.
Right.
And I think, and anybody who doesn't see that doesn't really know what they're talking about. Because I have sat with women who have wanted their babies so very much, and something went terribly wrong in the gestation.
Right.
And it was merciful to not carry the baby to term.
Right.
And it was a heart-wrenching, horrible, dreadful decision that they did not want to have to make. So I smell a big fish. I smell big britches. I smell somebody who was being a diva. And like I said before, producers don't want to take any risks with their money anymore.
No, they don't.
If you're going to be a problem on set and cost more money, you're out of here.
Look at all that's gone on Fox. I'm 200% pro-life, but I'm also a human being, and I think that there are factors, and I don't want to get into the great abortion debate on the show tonight because I'm too tired to get so deep. But I think that sometimes we have to not be so political that we cannot see the human aspect in all of this. And I think that's as much as I'm gonna say because it's a very controversial topic, and we have talked about it on the show before, and I've made my views very clear, but I still feel that we always have to have a human aspect to all of this, because when we've lost our humanity, we've lost it all, as far as I'm concerned, basically.
Right on. And I think, when in show business, don't be a diva. Always ask yourself, what would Dolly Parton do?
Well, I'm just hutching up my boobs right now before we go into the next segment. She'd probably sing a song. I have to just ask you, did you hear the rumor that Dolly Parton is going to go on Grace and Frankie? Because all three of them worked together on 9 to 5 back in the 80s.
I love it, and they're still girlfriends. All
wow.
Of them. I love it. I just love it, and I just think Dolly is fantastic. When she says things like, I used to be poor, and I'm not poor no more, so I'm not going to complain. I just love it.
I saw her in an interview when I was a teenager, and she was like, we were so poor, we had to wipe our butts on dock leaves. And I was like, don't tell me anymore, Dolly. Okay, so No, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi said no 3 times when she was asked on Sunday about a grand bargain on immigration, in which Democrats would agree to fund President Trump's border wall if Republicans agree to a legal status for millions of people who entered into the United States illegally. Is there a possibility for the two sides to, even on an issue like immigration, come together, but also a path to citizenship? Jonathan Karl, guest host of ABC's This Week, asked Pelosi. No, Pelosi said. No, Karl asked. No, Pelosi repeated. No, I mean, we already had a bipartisan bill out of the United States Senate, she said, and the bill was introduced very early. Now, I just wonder where this immigration fight is going, because both sides seem so adamant about how it should go. And I wanted to, because you know, for transparency, you know, Margaret identifies as a Democrat. You know, she's my friend and I love her, and we always walk away friends even after we disagree, which is like what adults do. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit, Margaret, about the immigration issue, because my views about immigration are probably much different to what a lot of people would expect. But I want to come to you first. Where do you stand on this? And what do you think is the best way forward to actually get some level of consensus with regards to the outstanding immigration issues?
We cannot spend money on a wall. I just think it's ridiculous. And I think it's not going to work. People are going to find a way to circumvent that wall. It's silliness. It's just absolute silliness. I think we need to get more efficient with our policies and our vetting processes. I think it's ridiculous that it takes so long for someone to become a citizen once they start the process.
Agreed.
I think there's a lot of confusion about how the process is run, and I think there are extreme inefficiencies, and I think we need to get better at this.
Absolutely.
And I think building a wall is a waste of money, and I think it's going to make us lazier.
So let me ask you. I want to talk some more about the practicalities of immigration, but what do you feel about the suggestion about that Ted Cruz made with regards to using El Chapo's confiscated money to build the wall? Because the wall building has already started. Did you know that?
Yes, I think that we need to use El Chapo's money for something a little more practical. Look, I think the wall is going to give us a false sense of security. I don't think the wall is going to make us any more secure. People find ways. They find ways. And we need to get better at keeping people out who should not be here. And we need to get better at allowing those in who will benefit us.
Right. So let me stop you there for a second, because I want to talk about a little bit about the those that are already here, because I have no figures in front of me, but there are estimated millions of people living in the country illegally right now. The immigration system has been broken for some time, and it has allowed people to kind of bypass that system. You know, it's estimated that some people have been living up here up to 30 years without proper documentation. And I think that most people can agree that some of the byproducts of finding out who's here and having some kind of pathway towards becoming legal is a good thing, even from the perspective of bringing people out of the shadows. But I do think that the Republicans have said for long enough, let's secure the border and then we'll do something about immigration. And interestingly enough, the president's attitude towards immigration has softened. Like during the run-up to the election, it was, get everybody out, let's just get rid of all the illegals, which is obviously not really realistic because, who's going to pay for that? There's no money to pay for that. But the secondary, his attitude as he's gone along has softened, and he said, there are some good people that are amongst those that have stayed here illegally. So let's kind of, look at a case by case basis. But I just wonder how realistic either side is being about all of this, and shouldn't there be a possibility for a meeting of minds?
Well, it's not practical to frighten everybody who's been here for 30 years. I mean, it's just not practical. Because the more we frighten the people who are already here, the less we're going to know about them.
Yes.
Because they're going to go deeper into hiding. They're going to cover up more of the crimes that their neighbors are committing because they're going to be afraid of being deported themselves. We need to build a trust relationship with these folks. And we need to start encouraging people who are here to do the jobs that we don't want to do. We need to go back to sending the kids out into the fields. For God's sake, when you're 14, 15, 16 years old, you should be out in the fields. That's what you should be doing. You should not be getting an internship at Daddy's office.
Right.
And the only, if the jobs that people are coming over the borders to do illegally didn't exist for them, then they wouldn't be coming over the borders illegally.
Right.
And also, I just think building the wall first and then dealing with the other problems later is completely backward.
So tell us why you think that, Margaret.
Because, first of all, if we break down the trust any further, then these things that everybody is afraid of that aren't happening at the level at which they think they are happening will start happening at the level at which we are told they are happening. And I'm talking about crimes. Look, if we have a trust relationship with immigrants, then, Jennifer, who lives next to Jerry, who's a rapist, is going to come to the sheriff and say, I'm sorry, but my next door neighbor, Jerry, is a rapist.
Right.
And if the sheriff concentrates on the fact that Jerry's a rapist instead of on the fact that Jennifer is a immigrant, we're going to have a much better world.
I mean, I definitely think there is room for kind of, what am I trying to say? I definitely think there's room for growth with all of this, but when everybody digs their feet into the sand so much with regards to these things, then it's never going to change, is it?
No, it's never going to change. I mean, we need to start looking at this as a practical problem with practical solutions rather than taking the easy way out. Building a wall is an easy way out, and it's a blind solution that's just going to cause more problems.
I mean, I don't think that the wall is necessarily a bad idea, because we do have to do something about the rate of Mexicans coming over the border illegally. But I don't think that that's the only problem. We have more than one border, and there's more than one way for people to come into the country illegally. So it has
There's a million ways for people to come into the country.
Exactly. And I think that, long term, all of these things are going to have to be considered. But, I have to say, and I'm not going to go into I don't want to bash Obama, but Obama said that he felt, one of the things he ran on was that, he could fix the immigration problem. And 8 years on, after promising that to people that were undocumented in these United States, they're still undocumented.
Well, he had a lot of resistance, a lot of resistance to his policies. A lot of people didn't agree with the way he wanted to do it.
I would see that, but he was able to get a lot of other things through that wouldn't have gotten through, just by the method of signing an executive order. I definitely think he could have done more during the last 8 years to work on the immigration issue. But I think that I'm sorry, I wanted to just digress for 1 second, because somebody in the chat room just said, what about the drugs pouring over the border the wall would stem that tide. Can we at least agree on that?
No.
Why?
No, because drugs come in as many different ways as people come in. I just think, if we don't get drugs from Mexico, we'll get them from somewhere else. I think, the drug problem is not going to be solved with solving the immigration problem. The drug problem is going to be solved with a change in attitudes and a change in the criminalization of users.
I'm startled that you would say that, because the kind of drugs that are coming across the border are not like, weed and more socially acceptable drugs, but they're things like heroin and cocaine that kill people.
They're lethal, and they're a huge problem. They're a really huge problem. But I think we need to address that problem on a more fundamental level. We need to address why people are using. If we eliminate the market, then I think we'll eliminate the problem.
I'm not sure I could.
I think that we should legalize the non-lethal ones. I think we should legalize marijuana, and I think and tax the crap out of it. And
Right.
I think that would solve a lot of our problems.
But if you eliminate the market, there'll always be a fresh market for drugs. So eliminating the market is not a realistic approach, because there'll always be a fresh market. There's always young people that want to try drugs. But
If we legalize it and we're getting the revenue and putting the revenue...
Heroin and cocaine.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
people are going to use it. It's our responsibility to make it as safe as possible. People are going to do what people are going to do. And I think we need to address why they're doing it.
But let me ask you from a parental perspective, because, you're a parent, how would you feel? Obviously your child is a lot younger, but, the ideology as a parent to have things like cocaine and heroin legalized is astounding to me.
Really? Because I'm raising my child to not be an addict. I am actively raising my child to not be an addict. And look, there's no guarantee that she won't be.
No, of course.
But I am doing my very best. I am not blaming others. I am making my child as responsible a person as I can possibly encourage her
Right.
to be.
But how is...
I'm hoping for the best.
Right, but tell me this, how is building a wall to prevent drugs coming in blaming others? Because ultimately, stopping the flow of drugs coming into the country, and it's one of the biggest ways that drugs are coming in, from the southern border. How is that blaming somebody else?
First of all, I think that building a wall is going to be useless, because they will find another way. There's a great deal of money wrapped up in the transport of drugs across our borders. If they can't get them across our borders one way, there's enough money in their coffers to find another way. We have to address our drug problem on a fundamental level. We have to address why people are using.
Well, I think that needs to be a part of it, but I think it's a far bigger picture. And if you just address why people are using and don't stop the flow of drugs, it becomes a pointless act in identifying why people are using. We have to stop it there. Unfortunately, we always get to a very interesting.
We always get to a really interesting sweet spot when it's time to stop.
We do indeed, but we have run out of time. Thanks to everyone who's made today's show possible. Thanks to my guest, Margret Echverria, my co-host even. Tell people where they can find you and find out more about what you're doing.
You can find me at margretechverria.com. You can also find me at Jigsaw Venus on Twitter, and you can find my theater reviews at thefrontrowcenter.com.
Absolutely. And are you, was it this Monday you were there, or is it next Monday?
Last night it was Monologues and Madness.
Right.
First Monday of every month, I'm at the Cornelia Street Cafe at 26 Cornelia Street in the West Village, doing a show called Monologues and Madness. It's at 6 p.m. the first Monday of every month.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Margret. You have a great week, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
You too, darling. Love you.
Love you too. Thanks a lot. Take care. That was Margret Echverria. Make sure you check her out at margretechverria.com. On tomorrow's show, my co-host is Andrea Kay, and our guest is conservative comedian Steven Schneider. Fasten your seatbelts, people. Thanks to everyone in the live feed. Thanks for sharing. You don't always have to agree on the live feed. In fact, I'm not surprised that you disagree a lot of the time. It's actually imperative to talk things through because it gives us a perspective of where other people are coming from, whether we agree with that or not. So stay safe, stay warm or cold, dependent on where you're at. Please make sure you share the video if you didn't already do so. Don't forget to buy the book. I am an author. The book is called The Boy from Beyond the Ice House. Make sure you check that out. I'm also a singer. And I have an album which is called The Platinum Prequel. I just shared the link for that too. Be sure to check that out. Have a fabulous night. I'm going now because I need a beer and I need to chill. We will be back with you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a fabulous night. I'm going now because I need a beer to chill. See, this is what happens when you don't remember to mute the live version of what you're doing before you play the music. I need a producer. If you'd like to become our producer, you can contact us via xandergibb.com. Have a great night. I love you all. I really do. Love, never known true love before.